Are you a chiropractor with a struggling practice, having a hard time finding and keeping patients? Is your staff falling short of expectations? I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer, and DC Trainings has the answers that you need. So tune in now and find out how. Hello, welcome to DC Trainings. I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer. Happy holidays to everybody. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be on our call today, on our webinar. I have a really cool topic for you to talk about, and that's spinal screening marketing, which is week 6 of module 6. So module 6 being goals and marketing, and week 6 being the spinal screening marketing. Now, if you've been in practice for a while, like I have, and many of you have too, then you know that we historically did a different type of spinal screenings. Many of you have been coming to DC trainings for many years, and you know that 10 years ago or more, we were doing spinal screenings at wine tasting events, not wine tasting, what am I thinking of? Art and wine festivals, Chamber of Commerce festivals, different meetings, and we had these spinal screenings there, which those are a great way to market your practice. Now, and after COVID, when things went much more virtual and electronic, I am not doing as many of those types of events. And I know from feedback from all of you, many of you are not doing those types of events as often anymore. But that doesn't mean that by definition, we're not doing spinal screenings anymore. I just had a spinal screening on Monday this week, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. But so part of why I wanted to explain the difference here is because as we get into this topic today of spinal screening marketing, I want you to think about the opportunities that you have to market yourself, as BJ Palmer said, selling yourself, to market yourself to new potential people that you can provide chiropractic care for. So from a spinal screening perspective, anybody that we can talk to who potentially has a spinal subluxation or needs chiropractic care, that's our audience for spinal screenings. And in that context, that's why today's topic is so relevant, even if you're not doing as many of the big event spinal screenings anymore. That's okay. You can still apply what I'm about to teach you today. And so let me jump right in. I want to share my screen. And I had some good emails that came in this week. So if there's any questions that you have, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. I just want to make sure that we get all your questions answered as we go through our topic today. If it is off topic, that's okay. You can still ask the question. I want to make sure that everything gets answered for you. So on your screen, you can see our next seminar, before I get ahead too far, is on team development in January on the 13th. And that'll be at my office in Santa Cruz, California. I encourage all of you to come, not only for the camaraderie and the coming together of chiropractors, and the bonding that comes with getting together as a bunch of chiropractors. It's just really exciting that way. But more importantly, I want you to think of, imagine yourself doing what you do alone, without the help of your team, without your chiropractic assistants, your CAs, without your associate doctors. How would your practice run if you were doing it all on your own? And would you be able to scale up the way that you want to? Well, for most of us, the answer is no way. I mean, there's no question in my mind that I could not do what I do without an amazing team at my side and us all working together. So that next seminar on team development, I want to make sure that you're all there in person, not only from the camaraderie standpoint, but also for the team development side. Be there for your team. Make sure that you know how to structure your practice so that your team knows what's expected of them. It's measurable. Your team is productive, and everybody's pulling in the same direction for the success of the practice. That's what we're going to dive into in depth come January 13th. And we'll also tie into that, because if you don't have your ideal team right now, we're going to tie in with that, how to find the right people. I'm actually hiring right now. We had a CA that just left recently, and so we are hiring. And I know what it takes in the current modern age of technology, of social media, of nobody answering their phone anymore, all of that stuff. I know what it takes to get real good quality candidates to come and apply for a position in your office. And so since I'm in the trenches with you on that, you definitely want to come to the seminar if you're looking at hiring in the near future. And even then, if you're looking at hiring down the road, if someday one of your CAs leaves, you want to be ready to just turnkey your hiring sequence or your hiring approach and make it active immediately so you can hire the best people for your team. So anyways, regardless of what your needs are, I know you're going to find the answer for team development in January. I want to welcome Dr. DeTrault to our call today. Since you're new on the call, if you have any questions, just raise your hand. I'm happy to see you on the call and certainly want to welcome you to DC Trainings. Okay, so let's dive in here and talk about spinal screening marketing. And we're going to do just a couple definitions to kick this off. So as it says, a screening is a procedure performed to detect the presence of a specific issue. Now, let's kind of go in reverse on that. What's our specific issue? Our issue is that this day and age, especially, too many people sit for too many hours a day. It's almost like if you were, we'll just say that subluxations are to your spine, like cavities are to your, or like sugar is to your teeth. Actually, I'll rephrase that again, because what are we all doing these days? We're doing way too much sitting. So we'll just say it this way. Sitting is to your spine like sugar is to your teeth, meaning that if you ate a bunch of sugar, well, that doesn't guarantee you're going to get cavities. If you brush and floss and see your dentist regularly, you might not get cavities, even if you're somebody who eats a lot of sugar. Well, if you're someone who sits a lot, you're going to be causing uneven pressure on your spine and be much more likely to develop subluxations and spinal problems. But you can counter the effects of sitting by seeing a chiropractor regularly, by exercising regularly, by having a good diet and good nutrition, right? There's things we can do to offset the fact that we sit, but since sitting is particularly detrimental to the spine, anyone who sits a lot should have a regular spinal checkup. Now, going back to our screen, what does that mean? Well, that means that there are many people walking around, driving around, sharing our communities that need chiropractic care to offset how much time they spend sitting. So there's our I'm going in reverse on the screen, but the presence of a specific issue. The specific issue is we sit too much. A procedure performed to detect the presence of a specific issue, that issue being subluxations in the spine. Well, our procedure is how we do this spinal screening. So we're going to check with people. We're going to put our name out there. We're going to talk to people. We're going to connect with people to detect where they may have spinal problems related to sitting. Now, does that mean that you have to go to an art and wine festival all day and stand at a booth like the table that you see on the screen? No, that's not what that means at all. What that means is that any opportunity we have to apply our knowledge and to have a conversation and then have a spinal screening with somebody to check to see if they're suffering from the effects of a subluxation, we should take that opportunity and do so, right? So let's keep going. That's just a nice broad spectrum because it should have your wheels going now thinking, okay, well, yeah, there's lots of times where there's a spinal screening opportunity that I could take advantage of, right? So let's talk about a couple of materials within DC training. So first of all, I want you to use the spinal screening marketing outline and script. And we're going to go through that today. I'll show you that, but we're going to use that as our outline. And we're going to watch the spinal screening marketing demo. Now, in the demo on the video, you're going to see more of a public place and how the flow goes when you have a spinal screening happening at some kind of a public place. But if you're not up to that scale or you're not wanting to do that type of an event, that's okay. You can still do spinal screenings in a different context. When you watch the video, just think of the one-on-one, the connection, the sincerity, the genuine concern that you share for somebody's well-being when you're communicating with them, right? So when people are, and it's interesting because I know I see Dr. Knitsch on the call too. So you've been through this many times, right? Where you walk up to somebody and they, however it comes up, what do you do? Well, I'm a plumber. Okay, what do you do? Well, I'm a chiropractor. And right away they go, oh, you're a chiropractor. Oh man, I need you, right? How often do we hear that? Well, that is an invitation to start a couple of things. One being a conversation, right? They just found out that you're a chiropractor, they've got some issue and they just express that. Likewise, if you found out that somebody was a plumber and you had just left your house and there was a major leak coming out of, under your sink. You just left your house and there was a leak, and then you walk up and you meet someone that's a plumber. Would you just go, "Oh, you're a plumber, that's cool"? Or would you say, "You're a plumber, oh my gosh, you won't believe it. I just left my house. There's a leak happening under my sink right now. I really need your help." So, and I'm putting that into context because I want you to understand how often it is, and many of you experience this, where when you mention that you're a chiropractor to somebody, their mind immediately goes to what? A chronic health problem that they have. And obviously, drugs and surgery aren't fixing it, or else they wouldn't still have a chronic health problem, right? It would be gone. So, in that opportunity, that is an invitation to start a conversation. And of course, you're the solution. That's why they're saying, "Oh my gosh, I need a chiropractor," right? So let's take that a step further and look at that as an opportunity to do what? A spinal screening. Even though it's one-on-one, that's okay. But I'm going to show you how to take that moment and really turn it into a great relationship or a great connection, and potentially a long-term relationship where they're coming in to see you at your office as a new patient, and then even as a continuing patient in the long term. Okay. So let's keep going. Let's go through these slides so you can really put this into action. And I'm kind of using the one-on-one because, again, a lot of us aren't doing as many of the big event types of spinal screening. I can show you how to do that too. If you want to do an art and wine festival, if you want to throw a Chamber of Commerce mixer, if you want to do a patient appreciation event, I can show you all of that. That's fine. Let me know and we'll dive in deep on any one of those topics. But for the one-on-one, that's something that can happen to us almost on a daily basis. So let's keep going. Well, actually, this is a good time to pause and tell you the story I wanted to tell you, because this just happened on Monday, right? I had a mom come in with her daughter. The mom is the patient. I've taken care of her for a while. The daughter is in her, I think, 30s. So she's not a young child anymore. She's an adult, but she came with her mom. I guess she's hanging out with her mom, right? And her mom said, "Well, I got to go to the chiropractor. Why don't you just come with me?" So I walk in the room. There's the mom. She's ready to get adjusted. But before she gets adjusted, she's ready to introduce me. So she said, "This is my daughter, Cherie. I've been wanting you to meet her." Okay, great. "Hi, Cherie. I'm Dr. Sawyer. It's great to meet you." And then her mom lays down and gets a great adjustment, right? I take care of her. I sit her up. And at the end, because I walk my talk, I'm going to do what I'm teaching you right now. I'm going to initiate a what? Spinal screening, right? So I say, "Cherie, it's great to meet you. Who's your chiropractor?" And she says, "Well, I don't have a chiropractor." And her mom starts giggling. Now I'll get to that in a second, but she does outright. I heard her start giggling, and her daughter smiled and looked at her, and whatever, the inside joke was obviously there. But then I said, "Well, many times we find that people have health problems that don't get resolved. And if they're not resolved, the body's not healing itself. And that's a problem, because the longer they go on, the worse they can get. Have you had any health challenges?" And this is where the giggling came out. Her mom said, "I was hoping you would ask her. That's why I brought her today." Now, they didn't tell me that before. They didn't walk in saying, "I brought my daughter so you could check her spine today." They were waiting to see how it went. And also later I found out Cherie wanted to see her mom get adjusted because she was kind of nervous about it. She wanted to wait and just see if it was a comfortable thing, right? Which it was. And so we got past that without me even knowing about it. But the point I'm making here is that her mom brought her in hoping that I would initiate a conversation around checking her spine, finding if there was a problem that we could help, and then using that as a springboard into her becoming a new patient, which she did. She came in yesterday as a new patient. She's going to do great. We're looking forward to taking care of her. And her mom brought her in for what? A spinal screening. Okay. So I wanted to share that story with you because it was just so perfect and fitting for our webinar today. So let me keep going. And I'm going to get into some of the bigger types of spinal screenings here too, just for fun. If you want to take it to that level, that's great. I can show you how to do that. But I wanted to set the stage small just because you can understand now how important it is. Even a one-on-one conversation with somebody is what we would call a spinal screening. Okay. Okay. So, and you'll see that in the demo. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I'm already jumped ahead. Okay. Let me switch over. That's the end of our week in terms of the PowerPoint slides, but that's okay. I want to show you, here it is, right here. I want to show you this slide or these materials on the website. So, there we go. for Dr. Tetrault, I just want to show you here because here's the website. And on here, we have our training materials. For today, for this week, these are the training materials right here. And there's a spinal screening video demo, an intro, and then here's our materials. So I'm going to go through these in sort of a summary form because I want you to see the benefit of each of these. So here's a spinal screening marketing outline and script. So if you're doing a more large scale event, it's going to talk about how to schedule the event. It's going to talk about the supplies that you want to bring. And there's lots of supplies here, but it's not that complicated. So don't get too frightened by that. It talks about staffing. What type of staffing do you need to have an effective spinal screening at a, say, art and wine festival or something like that? Some additional tips in terms of initiating conversations, that's on there as well. And then down here, spinal screening scripts. And this is where I wanted to bring this material into our conversation today, because the first part is about the screening tips at an event, right? But here, and it starts right here, have a seat here and I'll check for this condition. Right there where it starts out, I'll scroll to the bottom here, is the part where I started my conversation with Cherie, right? Her mom said, I asked her, have you had any health problems? She said, yeah. And her mom said, I was hoping you would ask that. And I said, well, have a seat here and I'll check your spine and see if you have a condition that we can help. Please let me know if you have any soreness, as that may indicate you have a subluxation, right? So I was checking her spine at that point. She's sitting on the adjusting table. Her mom's standing there watching. So I checked her spine, and down here under 4, it says examine the area of chief complaint only, not the entire spine. Compare areas of normal movement with areas of fixation. Apply pressure to both normal areas and swollen areas for contrast so they feel the difference. So as I'm checking her spine, I'm going to just demonstrate this for you. She's sitting up on a table, on an adjusting table, and she was complaining about tension in her neck and shoulders. So I was feeling her, I was holding her shoulder, actually, I was holding her head like this, and then I was bending her head a little bit, just gently back and forth, and I was feeling how her spine was moving. And going back to the script that I just read you, I point out, like, here's something that's moving normally. That's good. That's what we want to see. Now, when I push over here, though, that's more stuck. Can you feel the difference between this side and this side? When it's stuck like that, that's a fixation. And that's one of the components of a subluxation that can be very damaging to your nervous system, which is why it's likely not what? Everybody chime in, healing, right? That's the problem with a subluxation. It blocks your body's innate ability to heal itself. And that's why these chronic problems persist. So we're comparing sides, and that's what I just read to you in that footnote on the slide, right? So going back over to here, that was number 4. Then I'm concerned because it appears you have a subluxation pinching your nerves. You also have swelling and inflammation, and that's why it was sore when I applied pressure. Kind of like pushing on a bruise, right? If somebody pushes on a bruise, or if you bump a bruise that you have, you might not feel it before that, but when you bump it, you go, oh, wow, that is sore. Wow, there's that bruise that I have, right? I'm concerned because about the swelling and inflammation, because when you get swelling and inflammation in your spine, it can indicate that you have this condition. Then it jumps to number 6. So on 6, it says if there's tenderness on palpation, point out the swelling can indicate this problem has been present for an extended period of time and is causing possible degenerative disc disease, right? If there's a subluxation over the long term, it can cause lots of accumulated damage. So that was number 6. Then the next part is, you said this problem has been affecting your work and your ability to concentrate. If there was a way to affordably get that taken care of, would you want to take care of it? Obviously, the answer is yes, right? Ask how they're affected at work, hobbies, and home. Then prompt a question to then ask a question to prompt the demand for care. Now, this, for those of you who've been coming to DC trainings for a while, you know the demand for care, right? We teach that in the report of findings module, which is module 3. Demand for care basically says, now that you can feel there's a problem there, and I have a pretty good idea, I know what's causing it, how do you feel about your condition and what would you like to do about it? Now, that's in a very simple way, that is the demand for care, right? Because the answer to that question is the patient saying, or the potential patient at a spinal screening saying, well, doctor, I'd like you to tell me what you recommend because I can tell you there's something wrong there. You felt it and sounds like you're the expert, so you could probably tell me. That's the demand for care. Now, prior to that, the footnote said, ask about how it affects them at home, work, and hobbies, right? So when you're feeling that part and you say, gosh, I can feel something going on there. How does this affect you? Like say you're at work and this is really, having one of those bad days. How does that affect you at work? And let them share that with you. Let them express the challenges that they've been putting up with because of this condition. Well, at work, it's hard to concentrate. I get headaches by the end of the day. It's really not good. I end up having to take aspirin. Wow, that's terrible. I'm so sorry. See, I'm showing empathy. Obviously, I have empathy because this is a patient and that's why I'm a doctor. Then I would ask again another question. Well, tell me, how does it affect you like at home? I mean, do you have family at home? Does it affect you there? And they might say, no, it doesn't really affect me there. It's fine. I'm moving around. Oh, okay, that's okay. How about hobbies? What do you like to do for fun? Well, I like to go surfing. And how does it affect you with surfing? Oh, it's terrible. When I'm paddling, it hurts my neck and shoulders. Now, I'm a surfer, so I can relate to these kind of analogies, but whatever it is that they share with you, connect with them, be concerned, show empathy. And from there, you're building a relationship, you're building rapport. But most importantly, what are you building? You're building trust. This is trust on their part. They just met you. You just walked up to them, or they came in with a patient. However you met them, you just met them. They're trying to decide, is this person, do they really care about me? Can I trust them? And that's what you're building by asking these questions. So let me go back over here. Isn't this great? I mean, it's so fun. And I give you these examples, but anywhere you go, you can have a spinal screening, right? You can meet new people. You can invite them into your office. There should be no shortage of new patients. I'll tell you that. If you're in your practice, you're thinking, I need more new patients, let's talk, because that should not be an issue for any of us with how many people are walking around out there with subluxations or spinal problems. Okay, so all right, so then number 6, right? 7, we finished. That was prompting the demand for care. So how do you feel about this? What would you like to do about it? Or if I could offer a solution, would you want to act on that? Maybe put this all behind you and get rid of it? So now in the screening context, this is talking to people in the general public. So our public health outreach program offers you a chance to receive a complete evaluation and a more detailed exam. The standard price is over $200, but as part of this promotion today, just $20 will cover the entire evaluation. This program only allows for a limited number of appointments to be donated, and we are donating the $20 directly to a local charity. If we schedule this for you, we ask that you're 100% committed to attending, because we're going to reserve the entire 1-hour appointment for you. Okay. Now, I want to stop the share for a minute, because again, how does this relate to our sort of day-to-day, chance meetings and people that we meet? So the way this relates is this. Obviously, if you're at a spinal screening, you can say something just like what I said. But in the context of meeting people at random places, maybe you're at the grocery store, this is happening. Maybe it's a patient or a daughter that came in with your patient, or anywhere, your children's teacher at their school, whatever it is, there's something that's called the push-off. Now, I just described to you the demand for care, but we also want to talk about the push-off. And that's what the context of the script that I just read to you is based on. The push-off works like this. And I'll ask you this question as a rhetorical question. How many times have you given out a business card to somebody and said, call me, and they take your card and they look all happy? Yeah, this is great. I'll definitely call you, doc. Yeah, I got to come in. I really want to get this taken care of. I'm so glad we met. I'm going to call you. And that's the last time you ever hear from them, right? So that's called fishing, right? We're fishing. See, hopefully we can catch something, but we're just fishing. I would rather that you catch some fish. And historically, I enjoy fishing. I've fished many times with my kids as they were growing up, but I come to the realization that I don't enjoy fishing. It just isn't for me. I know some people love it. It's great. It's not for me. But what I do enjoy, I enjoy catching. So when I go and I throw my line in the water, if I don't get something pretty quick, I get bored and I get distracted and I walk away. But if I can be out there and throw my line in the water and actually be catching some fish, I'd love to fish. That's great. So this is the same kind of context. I don't want you to be passing out business cards that never come back to you. I want you to be able to make an appointment. So what does this mean? When we do the push off, what it means in a spinal screening is, I'm going to give you this card, but let's book an appointment for you so that I can help you. Okay. And in the screening video, you're going to see a part where I go to pass actually, we just covered this also in referral marketing. So if you were with us 2 weeks ago on our webinar, it's a little bit of a repeat, but it's still in the interest of generating more patients to come in and see you through referrals, right? Or through spinal screening. So we're going to hand them the card, but then we're going to hold it for a second and we're going to say, now, if I give you this card, I'm only going to give it to you if you agree to come in. Like, I don't want to make this appointment for you and then have you not show up, because I've got a very busy practice. I have a waiting list practice. There's new patients waiting to come in every day. If I schedule this for you and you don't come, then somebody else is going to actually miss out. So if I'm going to give you this card and book this appointment, can I count on you to be there? Yes. Okay, good. And they nod and they take the card and then you know, okay, good. They're being sincere. They're genuinely interested, and the chances of them showing up for the appointment are dramatically improved or increased. Okay. So that's why that last part is hang on, let me go back and share my screen again, because that last part says the punchline, which is right down here: do not reserve an appointment unless a payment is made. Now, in the context of spinal screenings, yes, we're collecting a payment to reserve the appointment spot. And I wouldn't book the appointment unless the payment's made at that spinal screening. But if you're doing it in the context of the one-on-one that I've been sharing with you as a more common example, that push-off with the hand and the holding the card before you give it to them, that will suffice as far as making a commitment that they're actually going to come to the appointment. Okay, so use the push-off to increase the chances of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue through our materials, because the rest of them are pretty brief since we've covered most of this in those as well. The next one is the Chamber of Commerce marketing. So if you're wanting to do a more big event, big scale, multiple staff, hundreds or even thousands of people, that type of an event, this is a great summary. One of the ways that some of our doctors have done this, myself included, is when you have like a 10th anniversary or a 25th anniversary or an open house when you first move into a new practice. Those types of events, you want to use this format, because we talk about, as you can see on your screen, scheduling the event, but we also talk about marketing the event, what supplies to have, staffing, raffle tickets, prizes, hosting the event. You can actually have people hosting, follow up after the event. So this is more of a big scale type of marketing. And of course, if you have any questions, just raise your hand. I'm happy to cover that today on our call, but that's obviously part of that. Of planning for an event like that requires these individual steps. So those are there for you. The next one is the stress survey. And we have a blank here that you can use. We also have a survey sample, and I'll use the sample here because on the survey sample, what this is based on is when you go to an event and you want to attract people or meet people, or you want to have people lining up at your booth to come and see you, you could have an announcement that you're going to be raffling off prizes. Maybe it's a gift card or a car or some big prize, restaurant certificate, some kind of raffle prize. And you can have those announcements made at an event like an art and wine festival or something like that, where it draws people to your booth. Right? They're coming to you. You're not having to go out and find them. They're coming to your booth because they want to get in on this raffle because they saw the announcement for that big prize. And when they come to your booth, you want something that engages them, right? That keeps them there. So in order to be entered into the raffle, they can very simply fill out a brief survey. And by filling out the survey, that gets them a raffle ticket to be entered into the raffle with a chance to win a big prize. So that's one of the areas that you can use to attract more people to your booth. The next one is the spinal screening certificate. So in those types of events, you want to have a certificate so that when somebody actually books an appointment with you, whether it's reserved or whether it's paid for, they actually get some kind of a certificate that they're taking home and they're walking away with. So here is an example of something like that, where you would just print these out and give those out to your new patients that you are scheduling now, not just passing out your business card, but you're actually scheduling to come in to see you at that event. And one last piece of materials here. This is actually what we've done with some of the bigger events is we have what's called a feeder. It was actually in the outline. I'll go back to that in a minute. But in the outline that I showed you, one of the staffing components is to have a person who's called a feeder. And the feeder is someone who's roaming around the event, feeding people back to you in your booth. Okay. And in that context, that person would be carrying around these raffle tickets and passing them out. And they're very simple, win raffle prizes, complete our health survey to be eligible. You can see my mouse moving on the screen. That's the survey that I just showed you. It says who it's for. And then this is a tear sheet. So you can tear this off. So when they come walking up to your, so the feeder person, if you can picture this, the feeder person is walking around the event, giving out these postcards. Have you heard about the raffle? Let's see, what's a good raffle prize? They're raffling off a $500 spa treatment to a local spa place. And that would be a good one. So actually, I just went to one of these events. A friend of mine was hosting, a patient of mine actually was hosting it, and they were raffling off free pies. This was right before Thanksgiving. He had the event at his real estate office, and I actually helped him. I did some consulting with him as a patient, but he was putting this whole thing together and he had questions. So at his office, they were raffling off pumpkin pies for Thanksgiving. And I think they had 100 pies. So it was a lot of pies. But in order to receive a pie, you had to fill out a little raffle ticket and be entered into a raffle. And then you could win the pie. And they had some other prizes that they were raffling for too. But the point being that when I walked into his office, a person met me at the door. She was very friendly. She said, "Hi, welcome. Here's your raffle ticket. And be sure to go over and turn this in so you can be eligible to win a pie plus some other prizes." So back to my screen, in that same kind of concept, you would hand out these raffle tickets to people around the event, and then they would just bring these back to your booth. And at the booth, you'll have some blank pens, and they'll fill this out, name, telephone number, email address, and that gets entered into the drawing to win the big prize. They get to keep this. Now on here, you can see it says end chronic pain now. Get results fast with, and we have some of the more common health problems that people face, especially when they have subluxations: chronic fatigue, back pain, headaches, digestive problems, difficulty sleeping, weight reduction. Visit Dr. Sawyer, the recognized wellness expert with chronic pain, right? So we're the experts with that. So they get to keep the postcard. They do the tear off sheet that goes into the raffle, and they get a spinal screening to schedule their, or to see if they have subluxations, which then initiates the conversation around scheduling an appointment and reserving that appointment with a prepayment, right? They have to pay in advance to reserve their appointment, and then they can come in and have that spinal checkup with you. If they don't pay, they won't show. So you really want to make sure, talk about the demand for care, right? That was number one, demand for care. How do you feel about your condition? What do you want to do about it? And then have the push off to make sure that they are really committed to coming in and seeing you. And by following that process and sending them home with a postcard, which has their confirmation of appointment on it, which they've prepaid for, now you know you're going to have these new patients coming in. Okay, so that is taking us back to our screen. Those are right to here. That's our materials for this topic. I want to actually just say hello to a couple of doctors, and I've been doing this for the past few weeks because we're coming into the end of the year, right? We're coming in for a landing on 2023, and some of our doctors are really doing well with their success rates. And I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'll tell you, success leaves clues. These doctors are really kicking butt. They're doing great in their offices. It's great to be in that position coming into the final stretch of the year. Congratulations to all of you on your successful practices. I'm really proud of you and happy to be a part of your success with DC trainings. Okay, so with that, I think that was everything for today. I know next week is Christmas, so we will have a webinar next week for Christmas. All right, so I think, let's see, I don't see any other hands up, and I'm going to go ahead and just wrap up on time, or a little early today because I want to stay on time. I have actually a CA interview that's coming in right after this. I mentioned I was hiring. And, I will just kind of digress off topic for a moment because, and this might be chiming in with what Dr. Michael brought up, as far as having, your team and having a practice of that size, obviously there's always CAs coming or staffing changes that are happening, right? Even if when you have A players, sometimes they come and go, and you want to make sure that you replace those positions with A players. So how you hire, how you select the right people for your team is just critically important, especially when someone comes in making the expectations clear, the measurable thresholds clear, all of those things. And so as we're going into, excuse me, our module 1 in January, this is a great way to finish out the year and have your marketing in place so that you're marketing your practice, you're bringing lots of new patients, and then you structure your practice in a way to where your staffing is all set up in an organized way so that when you basically open the floodgates or fill the bucket, right? We're familiar with the leaky bucket in chiropractic. So as we fill the bucket, we're not having too many holes leaking out the bottom. So that's how this flow goes in as we finish module 6 and we flow right into module 1. We're going to be talking about how do you structure these changes. So where am I going with this? What I would love to see you come away, excuse me, from module 6 with is this problem. I'd love to see you have the problem of, I have too many new patients. What do I do with all these new patients, right? There's so many new patients. My staff can't keep up with the new patients. Or another problem would be, I have so many patients that I'm taking care of that I alone can't actually take care of all of them. Wouldn't that be a great problem? Now, I don't even look at it as a problem. It's a great challenge. That's the challenge we should all be faced with. We should all have the challenge of, there's so many people that need chiropractic care. How do we service all these people? It should not be a scarcity mindset. It should be an abundance mindset. And with the tools that I'm showing you in DC trainings, that is the reality of what we produce, right? We can put into place the right action steps, the right procedures, the right sequences to produce more than you can take care of potentially, or at least be in that abundance mindset. So as we finish out 2023, I want to make sure that you all have that abundance mindset. We are in this to serve the population. We want to bring chiropractic to as many people as we can and have them experience the amazing life and lifestyle and health that comes from a subluxation-free threshold of health. That's where we want to get to. So as we're coming in for a landing on this year and this module, I just want to share that with you because I'm excited to work with you on it. I'm excited that we can share that together as a chiropractic community. And with that, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays to you. And let's jump into Christmas next week. But we will still have our webinar. Thanks again for joining. I will talk to you soon.
If you would like to become a member of DC Trainings, be sure to head on over to dctrainings.com to get started today.